how's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be taking a look at Friday the 13th, Sweet Revenge. This is a new short film that just came out August 13th, 2025 here on YouTube. It's a short, it's free, you can go watch it right now on this very platform. It was written and directed by Michael P. Nelson and stars Ally Loannides, Schuyler and Natassia Wakey. And this is the first new Friday the 13th movie in about 16 years. For those of you guys who don't know, shortly after the 2009 reboot, there was a huge legal battle for the franchise. That seems to be over now, and we have the current rights holders putting out new product under the name Jason Universe. Yeah, that sounds pretty lame, but whatever. Jason's back. It's about time. But he's not back in a big screen R-rated movie. He's back in a short film posted on YouTube with all the inherent censorship that implies, and the whole thing is an ad for Angry Orchard Hard Cider. So yeah, Jason's back, but the whole thing's just a commercial? Now, don't get me wrong, the short itself isn't terrible. It's not great, it has a few interesting ideas, but it doesn't really develop them. There is a bit of clunk in the storytelling, and the Jason kills are okay, but nothing super spectacular. If Jason Universe had been rolling out movies like every 3 years or so, and this short came out in between those, then this would be a whole nother story. It would be, oh hey look, a short film, it's fun enough, whatever. But the big problem with this short is inherently no fault of its own, and that is you gave a commercial way too big a shoes to fill. A short film commercial posted on YouTube should not have been the return of Jason Voorhees, and right off the bat, the Jason universe has gotten off to a pretty rocky start. First that lame Walmart knockoff looking mask that he's wearing now, and then his film debut in a commercial. That really is just underwhelming, guys. Honestly, we barely got going, but I feel like we already need to ditch the Jason Universe thing. That title just sounds corporate and soulless. And it really does feel like Jason's in the hands of people that just want to milk the franchise for money, don't know what makes it work, and I feel like we're going to witness a complete franchise breakdown. And honestly, as a Friday the 13th fan, I have a big feeling of dread right now. Hopefully it's not warranted, we'll have to see in the future, but hey, this is our underwhelming welcome to the whole thing, and it is what it is. But all that being said, let's talk a bit about the short. I'm not going to do any major spoilers, but I do want to say my piece and break down and analyze it a little bit, so I'll be avoiding the end, but from here on out, let's take a bit of a deeper dive. The film opens up pretty clunkily. We get a cliched drone shot following the car, and while the music towards the end would get better, get ready for some generic pop on the radio. And the character introduction is pretty bad. Basically, we have a girl that is in love with her fiancé, but she's suspicious and doesn't really understand how she could land a guy so okay as him. We get a few glances at her friend, we get a voiceover which really doesn't work, and then we get a scene that's cut out from some other point in the movie and placed here, where she's talking to her friend about worries about her relationship. Yeah, this movie starts off kind of rough, but eventually we'll get to the cabin on Crystal Lake and we meet the guy they're renting it from. He's got a harvest of apples, so I guess he's making Angry Orchard Hard Cider, and he provides a vague history of the camp. And I mean, like, he doesn't tell the story. He's like, oh, revenge, huh? Talking in a way that no real human ever would. Well, after they get settled in, the girl talks to her fiancé and says, let's go swimming, but we don't have any swimsuits. And she says, oh, we don't need them. Little does she know she's on YouTube and skinny dipping will not be allowed, so I don't really know why they put in this line. She says she's going to wait for him on the docks, and instead of waiting, decides to get into a canoe instead and leave him behind if he was going to come. Yeah, that was a little weird. But we have our female protagonist on a canoe, and we're not in the day and age of subtlety anymore, so let's recreate the ending of Friday the 13th Part 1, but have it be really goofy where she sticks her feet up in the air. And you may think that's the end of this protagonist, but that's where we get into the meat and bones of the story. Somehow she pops out of the lake at night, goes to check in on her friends, and that's where she'll meet Jason Voorhees, and he's gonna wreck up the place for a little bit. And the Jason Voorhees section, it's okay. We get a fun kill with a boat motor, but the rest of it's kind of lame. They chicken out of a cool apple core kill, and a lot of the kills we see are just the remains after something happened off screen, and a couple of them are super goofy for some reason. I don't know what they were thinking, but I guess we have a cartoon Jason shoving apples into people's mouths. I will say the Jason problems that we saw from the concept image are there. He is too skinny, and his mask does look like a knockoff mask you'd buy for 98 cents at Walmart, but they keep him hidden in the shadows and they keep it moving, so other than a few shots you don't really get to linger on the bad costume, which I don't know what that says. It looks better in motion because they hid it in the dark. That's great praise for your character design. But overall, with this whole original bit with the main girl, and I won't spoil what it is, but it does seem like a new and original plot. Friday the 13th, part 5 through 8, was kind of an experimental air for the franchise, and we got new and different things happening in those movies. And this really does feel like something that might have happened during that era. However, there's a few problems with it. One, they never develop it to the point where it's not 100% clear what's going on, and people in the comments of the YouTube video had to say, hey guys, I think this is what happened. And of course it's something that if it could happen, it would have happened several times before. So I don't know what triggered it this time around, but apparently it's a thing that can happen. But there's only a few times in this movie where it ever plays out into anything. In fact, watching the short is just like a few points during the short where you're like, oh, that's weird. Oh, it's because of this. And I won't say exactly what happens, but it gets to a point where you think you're finally going to get to the payoff to all this setup, but it's one of those that thinks, hey, wouldn't it be fun where instead of doing a climax, we just ended it? Yeah, no, this should be basic filmmaking, but here's an idea. Include your climax in the movie. Don't end before it. That's stupid. So yeah, as I said this whole time, Sweet Revenge isn't so much bad as it is underwhelming. There's a few okay sequences and there's a few okay ideas. They're not really pushed into anything great, but you know, it is what it is, and at the end of the day, Sweet Revenge on its own would be a fine little whatever short film. But when it's the return of Jason Voorhees, that's really putting way too much weight on this weird little beer commercial, and the whole thing just has this unsatisfactory feel behind it. It's only 13 minutes long without the credits, and it's free on YouTube, so if you want to check it out, go ahead. I just wish for Jason's return we got something a whole lot better. But at the end of the day, I guess at least he's back, but I don't really have huge expectations for this franchise moving forward. Fingers crossed, I hope that I'm wrong though. So yeah, not a huge recommendation or anything. Anyway though, all that being said, to everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I'll leave a relevant playlist on the bottom. This should be my Friday the 13th playlist. If you guys want to see more, feel free to click right here and see more. Anyway, have a good day. I'll see you guys again very, very soon. Playlist here. Have a good day now.